Guys, we are back for another episode of Gents Lounge Live, and today we have the founder of Taft, Kory Stevens here. If you guys don't know about Taft, they are probably one of our favorite pairs of shoes and boots that we wear on a regular basis. I think I have like 25 pairs from Taft now. Kory and I have been friends for about, I think, 5 or 6 years now, way before, like 2 years before Taft even started. So let's get into it. I got Kory on the line, and I'll let him give you a little intro on himself. So, what's up, Kory?
Yo, hey guys, my name is Kory Stevens, founder of Taft. George and I, we first connected, yeah, dude, like you said, like 6 years ago. My oldest was just barely born when we first met. So it's been 6 years. And yeah, started Taft around that same time from Los Angeles, born and raised. So yeah, man, happy to chat. Thanks for having me.
Dude, awesome. So let's just jump right into it before we get a lot of comments and questions from other people. I got a few of myself that I need answered. So I don't think I really know this. I know like a little bit of the story, but how did this all happen? Like, what was life like before Taft, and how did everything lead up to the end product being Taft? It's
Dude, so it's actually a crazy story. Like we kind of shared a little bit when you were up here in Utah with me. But so I went to school. I studied linguistics. So I went to Burbank High School. I moved to Utah to go to college. I studied linguistics, and I didn't get a job. Like I did well in school, but like I wanted to get into management consulting, and it just didn't work out. And so what we found out that my wife was pregnant, and it was like, oh crap, like what the heck am I going to do? I didn't get a job. I don't have any prospects. Like my network's in California, not in Utah. And so we just had to get scrappy, and we were on this trip to Europe. Like I saved up all my scholarship money, and I took my wife to Europe. And while we were there, we were like, man, these dudes are wearing super cool shoes, but none of them wear socks. And I grew up stealing like my mom's and my sister's no-show socks,
yes.
but like my toes would rip right through, right through the front. Like if you ever went to your friend's house, you'd have to take off your shoes, and it was like kind of awkward. They're super feminine.
Right.
And so we were like, man, why don't we make like cool, durable men's no-show socks? And so, dude, we got back. My wife's pregnant, no money, no job. And so we just start cranking. Like I'm trying to learn how to design socks, and I'm like going to the local university and like using their computers to have the access to Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop and stuff. And about a year later, we launched a Kickstarter campaign for the socks. And so that's what we did for the first 2 years.
Yeah.
That's when we first met. It was just
It
socks.
was Wembley's at the
Um,
time, right?
that's right, dude. So the Kickstarter campaign was called Wembley's, and as soon as we went live with the Kickstarter, we got a cease and desist. And for the name, like someone owns the name for like neckties,
Oh,
and so
okay.
we're like, crap. So we're like, my wife and I were sitting at our table, and we just had our baby, and so we named the business Taft after our oldest son. Um, it's his middle name, so that's
Awesome.
where it was all kind of born, man. Around a little table in a one room apartment, man.
And then I know there were a few kind of little other businesses in between, but were shoes and boots always like the ultimate goal for you, or did you want to do like suits and clothing and like denim? I don't know what. Was there another
Yeah,
path?
that's a good question, because to be honest, shoes were not on our radar at first. Like we did socks because it was a super low price point,
Right, one size
and I
fits
knew,
all.
right, and I knew that like you, what do you wear? Size 12?
11, yeah.
11? Yeah, like I wear a size 9, but like we could both wear the same socks, but
Right.
shoes, that could never happen. And so socks, it was super low price point. It was easy. I could just design them. Um, and shoes were never on our radar. But what happened was, like, if on Instagram we were trying to build a social following, because that was like free advertising, right? Like we
Yes.
didn't have to pay, we didn't have to make ads. It was like just take dope pictures and you're in. And so instead of just taking pictures of our socks, which would be really boring, we were we were going to like Nordstrom Rack and buying up all the shoes we could and photographing our socks with the shoes.
There you
And so
go.
then after a while, dude, like after months and months and like tens of thousands of followers, we realized that we looked like a shoe company. And so we had, we had like 200,000 followers on Instagram that of people that loved shoes. And so
Right.
eventually we started like buying up shoes that we could return, because
Of
it's like me
course.
and my wife like struggling to make ends meet. We would buy these shoes and kind of test what would really resonate with people. And so eventually it was like I started designing shoes in my head, knowing like, dude, you could never find this in a store.
Right.
This is not available anywhere, but I know that our audience would really react to it. And so when it came time to like, when we realized it was like, we have 300,000 people that love shoes, that love unique stuff, and
Right.
there's nowhere to get it. So let's start making it ourselves. And yeah, man, that's kind of how it all
Well,
started.
I mean, that's awesome because like so hard to find those type of people that like outside the box stuff that like
Right.
no shoe company will ever take the chance that you guys took to just, like if you showed like
Dude, it's crazy
if you showed
stuff.
50
Right.
people your shoes, two might be like, I think I could pull those off.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I admire you so much for like just having the balls to do what you want and make shoes you like, and you found the people to actually like purchase them and build the
Right.
community. And obviously
Yeah,
I saw the
dude.
video you guys posted today on Instagram, and obviously if you have one pair of Taft, you're about to have 50 at the end of your lifetime. So
Yeah, dude, it's so true. Like, I know that a lot of people are going to hate our product. Like, it's very polarizing. Either you get it or you don't. That's how our no-show socks were too, though.
right.
It's like, why do I need these camouflage no-show socks? No one's going to see them. It's like, well, what are your boxers? Are your boxers plain white?
Yeah.
Like, do your boxers have designs on them? No one's going to see them, right? Like, and so shoes, it's like, it's you make a great dude. If we put a post up on Facebook,
Yeah.
an ad on Facebook, like probably 80% of people are going to hate it. Another 15% are going to be like, those are kind of cool, but I could never wear them.
Right.
And then there's like this sweet spot that we live in. It's just these people that are bold and brave and courageous and like to stand out a little bit. And that's where Taft lives. And we're not going to be like your first pair probably, because you need like that brown pair of dress shoes and the
Right.
black pair of dress shoes. But then pairs like 3 through 50, what are they going to be? Once you
Right.
check off those real staple elementary things, that's where Taft, that's where I kind of want to live.
Yeah, like if you're the type of guy that wants to stand out at the office, at school, anywhere, you don't want the same pair of shoes that everybody else has. You don't want your shoes to look
Right.
like the same shoes everybody else has. So, when you put on a pair of Taft shoes, they definitely do not look like anyone else. And you guys have even
Right.
like brought back styles like the I don't remember the name of it, but the boot that has like the houndstooth on top and then like the Oxford bottom,
Oh,
like
yeah, the button boots.
that
Yeah.
style. I mean I've
It's
seen
old
it
school, man.
before, but like no one else is trying to make and bring that style back and challenging people to pull it off and put it in their closet, and you did it.
Right.
So, all
Well,
right,
thanks,
next
dude.
I got
Yeah,
I got another
I'm proud
question
of them.
for you. Well, before I blow your head up too big because you make the best shoes ever. But what was the biggest struggle getting Taft off the ground, like as the shoe company? Like, because
Hmm,
did you have like a
that's a great
moment that you had to
question.
like kind of push through?
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure
dude,
there's
like
a
imagine
million.
like there's years of I'm still doing that, right?
Yeah,
But like that initial launch, I'm from California.
yeah,
My network is, like back then my network was there, my friends were there, mentors were there, and so I think that when we first started, there was just a sense of like I would see lots of people start businesses, and it was pretty seamless because like they had rich parents or they had like this connection or that connection, and
it just was
it's just like
natural.
there's a lot of privileged people
Yeah,
that I mean we're all make me and you are privileged,
right.
but I mean like privileged in a way that like
If it
people can
fails,
just start
meh.
businesses. Right,
Yeah,
right, right, exactly. Like I see that a lot. That's how a lot of businesses are. And this was literally like, if I can sell some socks, I can pay to have dinner for my wife tonight.
right.
Like I can pay rent if I sell enough socks. Like it was that dire, it was that extreme. Um, and so I think it was like seeing these people that it was just hard to have no resources. You know, like a lot of people have some sort of help or network. And I just
Right.
felt like I just graduated from a school in another state. My family's far away. I don't have any rich uncles or you know, like it was like square one. And then it was just like no one had done what we were trying to do. And so there was a point I remember so clearly, like one day my wife, we were talking and she was like, or I was just like, let's Google it.
Yeah.
And you can't Google like how to solve X problem for Y business,
Right.
right? Like the instruction book for Taft has never been written. And so every day I'm like trying to forge that this exact thing has never been done. And so I think it was just like, dude, I to be clear, like I still feel like that day one kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Like sure, Taft is bigger and we have a team now and it's awesome. But like we're still a small, scrappy, lean business. And I still feel that same way. Like, how in the world do I do this? Like, let's get super creative. Let's think outside the box because no one's ever done this before. And I don't know how to do it, but I'm gonna try my best.
And I mean, no offense to kids with rich parents starting businesses, but I
No,
I do
that's right.
but I do think that the when you do it yourself, because like I take the same example. Like I went to Long Beach State for film school, and a lot of my friends went to USC for film school, and they had a
Mhm.
ton of money for projects and production, and they had the best cameras ever. And like we had to find cameras that our friends had and borrow like stuff from other places, and we found a way to
Right.
get stuff done and make stuff look really good for really cheap, which is a really good quality to have if you're starting a business. If you can just throw money at a problem, it makes it very easy to, once you have money, just to keep throwing money at things. So, you know, if you can
Right.
start kind of something with nothing and figure out ways to do it with no money, it's going to be so much easier to do it when you have money
For
to do it.
sure. For sure. Like I remember me and my wife, like I would be holding our baby.
Yeah.
Like my baby would be in my arms. My wife would learn how to take so it would be my feet, baby in my arms, trying to look cool. Like it was just the scrappiest thing ever, you know, and we've never lost that kind of mentality, even though things have grown and progressed. But yeah, man, it's just like, it's so fulfilling to start from just square one, you know, no leg ups,
Yeah.
no connections, no hookups, no network. It was like, dude, we're going to start with some dope product and like a lot of effort. And that's how we kind of got off the ground initially.
Dude, that's awesome. We actually got our first super chat from 40 over fashion right now. He sent us $10. So
Heck yeah, dude.
he asked a question. How do you overcome the risks of producing polarizing designs?
Hmm. You know,
Good
I
question.
think that's a great question, and I actually feel like I have a good answer for it because I think about it a lot. When you think about when you think about like a brown wingtip and a black wingtip,
Yes.
like you can find brown and black shoes in every shoe store, every price point. There's going to be the $40 pair. There's going to be the $4,000 pair. Like those shoes are available at every level of quality and in every store. And so for me, if I were to start another business right now, it would be very differentiated product again.
Yeah.
Because if it were just more of the same, dude, like how in the world would I expect to break through that noise? Like this is such a crowded market and any market's crowded now.
Right.
Like unless you're creating a totally new invention, like the market is saturated. And so if you want to do something that's noteworthy, it has to be different from how everyone else is doing it. And so how do you break through the noise, man? Like this is my formula: a great differentiated product, great customer service that you treat them like friends and family,
Yes.
and then time. You give it time and you're patient, and like that will work every time. I could do it in any industry, any product. Insane customer support, a really different type of product, and giving it time and patience, and it will work. Like whether it's $1 billion business or like a $10 million business, like
Right.
that if you're willing to do it. And so that's what I would say, man. It's like, how do you break through the noise, dude? It has to be different. It has to.
Yes. No, I mean, like I know you guys did like the standard. white sneaker, but then you did also like your three different riffs on the standard white sneaker. Because like
Dude, well, check this out, dude. We did that. You're right.
yeah,
Like, so I design all the shoes, and I design all this crazy stuff. And then with sneakers, I was like, oh, this minimalist sneaker trend. Like, let's try and get in on that. We can do a better product for a lower price. And it didn't really work. Like, I mean, we sold lots of sneakers,
right,
but we didn't find like Taft sneakers,
yeah,
right? Like it just wasn't quite our stamp on the sneaker world.
right.
And so this year, next month, you'll see what I found what Taft sneakers should look like.
There's some
So you're
stuff
right.
coming.
You're calling me on it, and you're so right. Like I did the minimalist stuff, and right, it didn't really work as it should. But
Right.
this year, I like stuck to who we are. I didn't fall into the temptation of like, man, Common Project sells 1 million of those white sneakers. I can do it too. That's the same, like that white sneaker is the same problem of like brown sneakers in or brown leather
Right.
shoes at every store at every price point.
I mean,
Like you have your $450 Common Projects and you have like your $49, whatever brand.
right.
And so rather than trying to compete with that, it was like, hold up, Kory, like, let's get back to who you are. Let's design dope, unique stuff you can't find anywhere else. And then they can't go anywhere else for
Yeah.
them.
And I mean, I do applaud you for that, but I also feel like you didn't do that right out the gate, obviously. So once you had the fan base of Taft followers, it was you could still put out that white sneaker and that that high top, mid top, which is
Right,
still a classic piece that everybody needs in their wardrobe. And if you already
right,
have 10 Taft shoes in your closet, you know how it's going to fit. You know it's going to be a great quality product, and it
right,
works. But you didn't do that out the gate, and I understand why, because you could go to Common Projects, you could go to 60
right.
other white sneaker brands that are doing
Exactly.
the same shoe with a different like design on the back heel or something.
Exactly. Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
well, thanks for that, John. We really appreciate it. I got this is a personal question that I've always kind of wondered. Do you have like a specific process when you're designing shoes? Like when I know you go over to Spain like a couple times a year and do some
Yeah.
designing, but do you like just throw all of the stuff on a piece of paper and see what's possible at the end, or how does it work?
So what I do, so I'm not like a trained product designer, right? Like when you see like the Nike designers,
Right.
like they have these
You're
amazing
sketching it
like
out and
computer, right? Like these amazing sketches that they then put into like CAD renderings, and like that's not how I do it. I don't know how to do that. I'm like a very simple, like a poor man's shoe designer. Um, so I can sketch a little bit, but they're horrible, and I would never feel comfortable showing people those because they suck. Like they expect, people expect like beautiful stuff, and it's like it's not like that for me. So my process is I always keep this notebook with me, and anytime I see something that strikes an idea, I write it down. And I'll and when I'm on Pinterest or I'm on anywhere and I see something, I just screenshot it and I save it to this one folder. And so after months and months of doing that, every 2 or 3 months I'm designing shoes. And so I take all those screenshots and I take all those notes and I sit down and I'm like, okay, what were all these ideas that inspired something? And then I'll take those and I'll turn them into some shoe designs. And then I'll kind of weed out the ones that are like wacky. And then I'll take those into like a spreadsheet of like this sole, this leather, this material. And then I'll go to Spain
yeah,
and I'll just work for like 4 or 5 days straight, nonstop to make the shoes. And then there are sometimes though, like I'll go to leather or textile trade shows,
hmm,
and there may be like a textile that I see that's just like insane,
like a
like
new
the
process.
jack,
Yeah,
yeah, like the jackboot in Eden.
yeah,
It's that like floral,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like that's I found that in Italy. Exactly, dude, exactly. So I'm in Italy. That's exactly it. Yeah. So I'm in Italy, this huge trade show, and I'm just walking, like my legs are, I feel like I'm at Disneyland. It's so big that like my legs are tired. And I stumble into this one place and I see that.
Yeah.
And like I didn't have a design. I saw that and I like designed a shoe around that. And
Yeah.
it was like that one I knew like, oh crap, like this is something special, So
But like you
it
don't
kind
even
of
think.
changes, but
I feel like I wouldn't even. I'd see that fabric or whatever, and I'd be like, can you even make a shoe out of that? Like that's what I would think originally.
right. And that's kind of the tricky part of like I use a lot of weird materials, that aren't typically used on footwear. And so like a lot of our stuff, or some of our stuff is like outdoor furniture material.
Yeah,
Or just stuff that's used for clothing, stuff that's used for all sorts of stuff. And so when you are using like not just plain leather, there's a lot of other things you have to consider to see if it works for a shoe. That's why wear testing is important. That's why going to Spain often is important, so that we can see how something like that reacts when it's like stretched aggressively over a shoe last, or will it rip, will it fray,
yeah.
like all that kind of stuff.
So I guess when there's a new collection coming out, how many samples are there that don't make the cut? Like, what's the
Oh,
average? Is it a lot?
I'd say 80% do not make the cut. Yeah, probably. I don't know, maybe 90%.
Wow.
Like in my office right now, I have
Do you make all the
probably a
samples in your
hundred and
size?
yeah, I do.
I
Yeah, all of them are size 9.
mean, that
Um,
is sample size, so you're lucky too.
yeah, I'm lucky. Um, but yeah,
That's
in my
funny.
office right now, so I have my own little like design studio office, and in that office, I have probably about 120 samples,
That
and I think we're producing about 11 of them. So
that's
yeah,
and
like
like
10%.
once you have the samples, could they possibly be ready maybe like next fall or in the future, or just like maybe it wasn't the right time for it?
Yeah, yeah. So like right now in my office, I have a million sneakers because that's what was I was doing most recently, and then I have a bunch of shoes and some boots.
Yeah,
And so once we have the sample, like our relationship with the factory is like so strong and close that like if I needed something in 2 weeks, like we could make it happen.
that's awesome.
Typically, like big shoe companies will be like designing a year out, or even further for something like 18 months out, which is just impossible for a small company like us. Like we have to be nimble, we have to be reactive, we have to respond to what people are liking, what they're not liking, new trends. And so like the nimbleness and agility is one of our biggest strengths. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we can be ready like really fast, or we can like make a sample and say, hey, we're earmarking this for next spring because it's that dope, and we need to be prepared to put some money behind it in a year from now or whatever.
Was there any specific shoe that like you designed the sample and it took a little while to get produced? Like what was is there anything like that?
Yeah, dude. So the most recent example, well, there's two. Do you know the Viking boot in stone?
Yeah,
I know you have Viking boots. The stone is like that
that
white and black
pebble.
pebbly
Yeah,
one
yeah,
with,
yeah.
yeah. So that leather is quite difficult to make. It's made at a tannery in the UK called Charles F. Steed, and it's hard to make. And so that boot was released, and it was pretty popular,
Yeah.
and we were not prepared for that kind of demand. And so it sold out right away, and we were not prepared. And so it took months and months, and we didn't end up releasing it again for like almost a year, because it just sold out so fast, and we were like totally caught, with our, like, we were just unprepared,
That's a good problem to
which is a
have though.
great problem. Yeah. And then the same is for the jackboot in Eden,
Yeah.
the Russell in Eden, the shoe you have.
Yeah.
That textile is hard to make as well. It's super complicated. I mean, you look at it, like the colors are crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard to make. And so that one, I knew it was cool, but I did not know that it would quickly become like our best seller of all time. Like boom, like selling out like crazy.
The Eden?
And so yeah, the Eden stuff, it's so cool, man.
Dude,
It's just
that's
so
awesome.
different. Yeah. And so, it's more the case of like us being unprepared for the demand,
Yeah.
and it taking a long time to have demand catch up with supply.
And so do you do
Or sorry,
you
to have supply catch up with demand.
do you like have a process for restocking? Like, because I know some boots like just don't come back,
Right.
or
Like,
shoes too. But yeah.
yeah, there's some stuff that like honestly, it's very exploratory. Like we have our stuff that works, that sells really well, and
Yeah.
that will always be in stock. But then I'm always trying to inject crazy stuff to just see what works. And if something catches us by surprise and like works really well, then like the process is just like calling the suppliers, calling the tanneries, whoever, and just like, please, 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 like, how quickly can you do this? I'll pay you more. Like, we need this immediately, you know? So it's like, we don't have, like, you're looking at the entire product team right here. Like, this is it. It's just me. And so it's very much like lots of text, lots of phone calls, lots of emails. Like, there's not like this big hierarchy that we have to work through. It's like Kory hopping on a flight, or Kory making a couple calls and just begging people, you know,
Kory,
like
is this
that's the
gonna
level
work?
we're at.
Kory, yes, it's gonna work. We're gonna produce
Exactly.
this. But I'm gonna tell
That's
you right
exactly
now,
it.
if you make this in every color known to man, I will take it. This is like
Do you like that
I
one?
love it. It's so comfortable. Like I go to Hawaii and Cabo like every other year with my family,
Yeah.
and like this is my go-to vacation shoe for the rest of my
Heck
life.
yeah.
So these
Dude.
are
Dude,
awesome.
you know what I was thinking? I was thinking me, you, and Blake, when we first met,
Yeah,
you were not married. Blake
yeah,
was not married. I had one child,
yeah,
and now we're all married. I have three children now. It's wild, dude. A lot has happened in the last 5 years.
dude. It's crazy. I mean, well, we all met. We were like what 24, 23.
How old are you? I'm
I'm
31.
32 now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so we're close.
So it was like 24,
Yeah, so it was like
25.
25. Yeah, and
That's
yeah, dude. I
crazy.
mean, a lot has happened.
So yeah, guys, me and Kory have been friends for
I was
quite a
trying before
while.
this. I was trying to. I have a picture of the first time we met,
Oh
but it's
wow.
on my wife's old school laptop, and I couldn't get it to work yet.
Was it from the
But
restaurant
yeah,
that we ate at? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
I was trying to get that picture just to show you,
I could only
but I couldn't get it
imagine.
on the computer.
All right, we'll
It's
take
a long
a
time ago.
couple questions from the crowd real quick before I get back into what I want to talk to you about. How do you measure customer feedback,
Okay.
and which platform gives you the most critical influence on your brand?
Ooh.
It's a good question.
How do I measure? What was the first part? How do I
How do
measure
you
customer
measure
feedback?
customer feedback? Like, I guess,
Oh, here it is.
yeah,
Okay. How do you
there you
measure
go.
customer feedback? Which platform gives you the most critical influence? Okay. Customer feedback. We do a couple things. So we anytime someone places an order, there's an opportunity for a review.
Right.
Um, so we use a company called Stamped. Stamped helps us measure. You know, there's something called a Net Promoter Score, which is basically like how likely is George to recommend Taft shoes to Blake. You know,
100%.
so like there's an actual score, like a data-based score that is generated through a tool like Stamped. And then anytime someone returns an order or exchanges an order, we have this post-purchase survey that helps inform us, you know, why, what can we do better? We're always trying to do that. The second part of that question, what was it? Which platform gives?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to interpret that, but is there I probably the stamp tool that you use is what you use. That makes sense.
Yeah, can you read the second part of the question? It was up on my screen, but
Oh
then it
yeah,
just
yeah.
went away.
Sorry. Which platform gives you the
Oh,
most
there it goes.
critical influence on your brand?
I would say, uh, um, I catching this question. I would say Instagram for sure.
Okay.
Um, like that's where the brand, like the company was born on Instagram, like literally born on Instagram.
We met through
Um,
Instagram.
and that's still, we met through Instagram. I found our factories through Instagram. I found a lot of our employees. I found our Taft store employees in New York City through Instagram. Like Instagram is by far the most influential platform for our business.
I, I
No doubt.
That's awesome. I think I saw another version of this question, but since shoes weren't initially on your radar, what's the process of learning about textiles materials last? But I think I also saw, is the process for making boots different from making shoes?
Mm. So the process for making boots and shoes is basically the same. Like a shoe last. I have a shoe last over there, but a shoe last, and a boot last is just higher, right? Like it's the same shape. It's just the boot last there. So there is technically like a shoe last and a boot last, but the process is the same. Yeah, that doesn't change. And then as far as learning, yeah, so like we've been making shoes since the very beginning of 2016. So 17, 18, 19. So like 4 years we've been making shoes. And 5 years ago, I knew nothing about shoes. I knew nothing about socks when we started making socks, and I knew nothing about shoes when we started making shoes. So I was doing the same thing that, lots of people, lots of shoe lovers do. I was reading tons of content on Reddit. I was watching all the YouTube videos I can. Um, I was I was spending a lot of time in our factory. Like the first couple of trips, I speak Spanish, and so I was just like looking over the shoulder of every single worker and asking them all the questions that they would tolerate from me. Um,
I
and
mean, that's the
so,
only way to learn.
right. I mean, that's the best way to learn. Like I'm fortunate to be able to go to shoe factories and just like learn from them. Um,
I guess
but no, I did not know. I
another
did not know how to
another
do this.
question I have is, how do you choose what last goes with which shoe? Because I know, like, obviously a dress shoe is different than a loafer, and some of the, like, the
Right,
Chelsea
right.
boots on a different last than the Viking, obviously, because it just fits a little different. But is there like
Yeah.
a specific choice that you make to go with each shoe?
Yeah, so lasts are proprietary to the company.
Hmm.
And so like my shoe lasts are different than any other company's shoe lasts. And so at the beginning, it's like we need to make a shoe last, or we need to make a boot last, or we need to make a Chelsea boot or a Viking boot last. Like in the beginning, we had to make those lasts.
Right.
And so there's last makers. You'll start with like a block of wood, and you just start shaving it down into the right shape, using science and data. And in Spain, there's a government entity called Inoscope. That's this governing body. It's a branch or a little part of the government that helps footwear manufacturers with data and testing and science and everything. So you find a master shoe last maker who will just take a block and shave it down into the right shape you want. And so you say, oh, I want more instep, I want more width, I want rounder toe. Like you need to
Right.
really guide the last maker through it. But then once, now we have this, repertoire of lasts. We have the last we use on our dragon boot versus the jack boots versus the Chelsea boots. And so we have like 7 or 8 lasts that we use. And yeah, when I make a new shoe, it's got to be one of those lasts, right? Like, and there's certainly specific reasons why you would go with one last versus another last. Like if you took, like the Monaco, that woven black
Right.
slipper that you just had up, like if you took that last and put it on like a chukka boot,
Yeah.
it would look really weird, right?
Right.
Like it wouldn't make sense. And so there are, in my opinion, there are definitely appropriate lasts for certain types of shoes.
So now I guess I have another question that I just spawned from this conversation, but
Hmm.
do you ever think about kind of the type of person, like the person's style that's going to buy like the Eden loafer versus the Viking boot versus the Dragon
Mm,
boot? Because like, they're, it seems like they're for different people in my mind, or
yeah,
based on,
yeah,
because not everyone has a closet full of 60 different things they could wear with each type of thing. So, it's,
right.
are you designing for like a specific person when you kind of put out a new type of shoe?
Yeah, I think that, so like in general, at Taft, we have like one or two personas that we speak to.
Right.
But then you're right, on the product level, I am thinking like, okay, there is one kind of guy that will wear the Troy boot and camo,
Yeah.
and that same guy would probably not wear this.
Right.
Like something like the Dragon boot is probably a different guy than like the Russell and Eden,
Yeah.
that floral bit loafer, right? And so I'm not trying to like be a mass appeal product designer. Like
Right.
our product shouldn't be safe. It is polarizing. You should have a strong reaction to it one way or the other. And if you don't, then it's too safe. So I'm not trying to be mass appeal, but I'm certainly trying to go after like different people. Yeah, like I want the super flashy guy,
Yeah.
and I also want the guy that like ribbons all day, and then on Friday nights when he goes out to like a bar, I want him to feel like he can wear something else.
Right.
So yeah, I think that there's not a single guy I design to. There's
Right.
certainly different types of shoes for different types of
But I
people.
think what's awesome as well is that if you get a guy that's a Taft fan, you are introducing that guy, if he's like a dragon boot guy, to, something that he's probably never even thought about. So
Right.
that
Yeah,
that's also
like
an interesting
for
concept.
sure. Like we're usually bringing people up
Yeah.
in terms of quality and price point. Like someone that, buys their first pair of Tafts, a lot of times they're coming from really, really expensive brands,
Hmm.
but a lot of times they're coming from like, hey man, I get, I've just been buying like Cole Haans at Nordstrom Rack my whole life, but like I saw that and I really want it. So we're like, dude, come up, we'll teach you about quality, we'll teach you about leather, we'll teach you about construction, and we'll help you understand why this is better. But yeah, man. Sorry, I
All
got
good.
excited, lost my train of thought.
I gotta ask you about the like never ending debate, because I know like Reddit loves you guys, but also like Reddit also loves Goodyear welted shoes. And don't correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't start with Goodyear welts, right?
No, no. So yeah, so we did not start with Goodyear welted shoes. So Reddit, I'm obsessed with Reddit.
Yes.
Do you use Reddit?
I tried, but they yelled at me.
Oh,
I got,
yeah. No, it's a tricky. It's the most. I mean, when you give complete anonymity
yeah.
to every user of a platform, it's a tricky place, right?
Yes.
Like everyone can say and do whatever they want. Um, and so Reddit is actually how we launched shoes.
Yeah, I remember you
Um,
guys killed it.
yeah, it was crazy. Like someone posted our socks on Reddit, and it made it to the homepage. And so we had like 100,000 people on our website. And I was just like, I had just designed our shoes. And I was like, wow, we'll never see this amount of traffic again. And I was like, hey, Reddit, do you guys want to see these pictures of these shoes I designed? And they were like, yeah, show us. And then I show them and they're like, make them available to purchase. And I was like, I had no idea. They didn't have names. We were only making socks, right? Like, and so we were really fortunate to be on the favorable side of Reddit.
Yeah.
Because I acknowledge that it's a tricky place, and I'm on Reddit a million times a day. Like it's my favorite social media platform.
I guess my
But it
my
is tricky.
my real question was, what is your feeling of the Goodyear welt versus Blake Stitch kind of, because people like hate Blake Stitch shoes, and I have no problem with them. I think it fits a certain type of
Yeah,
shoe.
right.
Like,
No, you're right.
does it determine quality?
Anyone? No, no. People will argue that,
Right.
but no. Like you can have. It's a method of construction. It's like it's like. Do you ever ride dirt bikes or anything?
BMX
Or have
bikes,
you ever?
but
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
So like different example, like 4-stroke and 2-stroke.
Okay.
Like it's like they're different, or like manual versus automatic.
Right.
It's like it's still a car, and you can have an incredibly nice manual car and you can have an incredibly nice automatic car. Um, and so Goodyear welted boots versus Blake Stitch, like Blake Stitched, they both have their pros and cons.
Right.
Blake Stitched will always be a finer, more sleek, more elegant cut, because you can cut, the welt doesn't have to stick out. You
Right.
don't have to stitch into the welt. So you can have it real sleek, right? Like that's something you can't have on a Goodyear welted boot. Blake Stitch is lighter. It can be way lighter.
Right.
Goodyear is more easily resoled,
Yes.
but it's also heavier and it also looks clunkier. Like Blake Stitch, this is sorry, this is all I got. But so like if this is like my upper, there you go. Okay. So if we're looking at your shoe,
Yeah.
like you see the sole,
Yes.
and then you see the black, the woven part.
Right.
So like these are Blake stitched. And so you see, like you just take the upper and then you place it on the sole and you up and out into the upper and down, which is that stitching you're seeing.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's Blake stitched. And so when you're sewing up into the shoe, you can make the sole really sleek. You don't have to have this big welt. And then Goodyear welt is just the same, basically the same. You make the upper, then you have the sole, and then in between, you basically sew another thing of leather.
Right.
So it acts as like you have the upper, you have the sole, and then in the middle, you sew another thing of
You
leather.
get the
And it just gives it
waterproofing
this,
benefit.
there's, right. There's some more waterproofing. There's more easily resolable for
Right.
sure. That you just unstitch and you remove the sole, and the welt is still intact. It protects the upper. But there's going to be people that will always argue for Goodyear, but like beyond Goodyear, there's hand lasted,
Yeah.
and there's lots of different level of quality. Ultimately, it comes down to what you prefer. Do you want lightweight, sleek shoes? Do you want really heavy, clunky work boots that will last you for a really long time, and you
Right.
can get them resold? Like it's about the type of shoe. Like when I'm designing shoes, I choose if it's going to be Blake or Goodyear.
Yeah.
And there's certain shoes that are appropriate for Goodyear, and there's certain shoes that would be inappropriate for Goodyear.
Right.
So it's really just the designer's preference needing to meet the consumer's
Like
preference. And when that lines up,
you
great.
couldn't make that loafer with a Goodyear welt. It would look ridiculous.
It would look wacky, yeah. You
But
could, but it would look really, really weird because like hold up the shoe with like the toe facing me, like
yeah.
hold it up, go like down so we can see. Yeah, you'd have like that
It
sole would have to stick out. It would
yeah.
have to stick out all the way around it, and then you'd have the sole would just get thicker. It would just be so wacky.
Right.
You could do it, but
But I feel like
it'd be kind of weird.
it also like has to do with your personal style. Like if you wear like super skinny, slim, everything, putting all this weight on the bottom of your foot's going to make
It
you
would
look
look
unproportional.
unbalanced.
Yeah. And
Right. It would look weird.
well, like if you think about English style, there's a lot of Goodyear welted stuff in English style. It also rains a lot in England. Then you think about Italian
Right.
style, a lot of Blake stitch in Italy, a lot of slim
Right.
style, not a lot of rain. So it's your
Right.
environment, it's your style. It's not just a good or a bad part of the shoe.
Yeah. The perception is definitely like, so you have like glued and cemented,
Yeah.
Blake, Goodyear. Like there is this like hierarchy of footwear constructions.
But how often
But in
have you?
reality, it's much more flat. It's not like this up and top to bottom structure. It's like which of these is most appropriate and which one makes sense and which one does the consumer want most. Like
Right.
the dragon boot, when I made the dragon boot, it was like, okay, this is going to be our most basic and simple boot. And we're making it waterproof and we want to make it tough and rugged. In that situation,
Gotta
Goodyear
go good.
welt
You
makes
have
a
to.
lot of sense, right? But like the Eden, the Russell and Eden, your floral bit loafer,
Yeah.
like that needs to be Blake stitched. And that doesn't mean like I cut corners and went cheap. It
Right.
doesn't mean I was trying to make it at a lower price. It's like, no, Goodyear would be weird, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Um, so I guess what was the most challenging shoe or boot to design or to get to production?
That's actually pretty easy.
Yeah, because you're like, this was the
Do you know
worst.
the print? This one was hard, yeah. Do you know the Prince double monk?
Yeah.
Like the double monk that
Yes,
kind of
I love that. By
like
the way,
that one, it's super cool, super unique, but it took me a long time to figure out how to do that pattern correctly.
yeah, because like, is it the buckling
Um,
that was the issue?
and like the buckling is weird, but like uh, it was all weird. Like
Well,
making the pattern,
I feel like when you would walk, if you didn't do it right, it would make a big
it
circle in the
would
middle.
bow.
Yeah,
Exactly. It would like bow and bunch. And so making that design work for like different insteps, different widths,
yeah,
different sizes, like grading that pattern up and down. Like it might look great and you wouldn't have any problems in a size 9, but maybe at a size 12, you start getting some weird proportion issues. And so that was a really difficult, like technical shoe that I'm really proud of.
no, it
But
looks
I would say
beautiful.
that one was probably the toughest.
That's awesome. So I think I saw on like a sneak Insta story or something, it was like a double or triple monk boot. Like
Oh yeah,
sample.
yeah,
Do you have
yeah.
that
I don't have it
here?
with me, but I have.
Oh my
No, I wish
God.
I did. Hold up. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, I posted. Let me pull it up. I'll pull it up in a second.
If you're looking for votes for what to produce, I'm gonna throw
Is
my
that your
I'm gonna
vote?
throw my vote for that one. That boot looks so good.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's let me see if I can pull it up right here. Yeah, it's like a because like I've seen like double and triple monk boots, but they
Yeah.
always seem like super motorcycle-y,
Yeah.
like kind of like biker gang boots.
Yes.
And so finding the right way to do it in like a classy, elegant way was a little tricky. I'm just waiting for it to show, and I want to screenshot it
All good.
because I'm on my phone. I'm on my phone. But yeah, dude, that thing is wild. So that one I think we'll make. I posted a preview of it on Instagram the other day,
Yeah, dude.
thinking that we wouldn't ever make it, but that one got a lot of.
Love.
There it is. Boom. Okay, check this out.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
one.
Dude, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so it's pretty wild.
I'm sorry. Show it up one more time.
So I
I'll
think
I'll
that
bring it full
they
screen if
just.
you still got it, so
Yeah,
everyone
I got
can
it.
take a look at that guy. Yes.
Can
And
you see it?
the way you did the way you did the broguing too on the toe,
Oh
like it
yeah, dude.
wasn't like a traditional like loop. It's like kind of
Yeah,
squared off.
yeah, exactly. It was like it's yeah, it's not like a wingtip. It's
Yeah.
like if you took the tip of a
And
wingtip and
just
just kind of shaved it off and
snipped
just
it.
snipped it off. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just snip the tip. So what is the next? What's the future for Taft? Are we sticking with boots and shoes, or are we going somewhere else? Possibly, maybe. Can we get the inside scoop?
Oof. I mean, I think that Taft design or Taft or my design philosophy can be applied to lots of different products,
Yes.
right? Like I could do the same thing I've done with footwear as I could with suits and with jackets and with shirts and with pants and with bicycles, the cars. Like you could just unique stuff. There's just not enough unique stuff. I think a lot of times companies, especially the companies that sell the most stuff, think
Right.
like, I mean, someone like J. Crew, is going to file for bankruptcy like tomorrow.
Yes.
Like someone like J. Crew moves so much product, and they're just kind of like not making any big, huge moves. Think of like an overcoat. Like when you go to J. Crew, you're going to find like pretty much basic overcoats,
Right.
brown, black,
Standard
blue.
lapel widths,
Um,
like
exactly. And so um, these huge, huge companies that move the most merchandise don't really have the agility or the nimbleness to make super, super dope, thoughtful stuff.
right.
And so, I mean, for now,
Well,
like the
it's like
scoop is that
Ford just doing a concept car and then coming out with what you get when that car comes out.
exactly. Or you look like the runway shows.
Right.
Like the runway shows are this like crazy stuff, and then none of it is ever seen again.
Yeah.
And like, or you look at like, like the red carpet, like you'll see who's an example, like Mahershala Ali,
Right.
like one of my favorite dudes, Mahershala Ali, and this like insane Gucci overcoat. And then you see it in a magazine and it's like $18,000 overcoat from Gucci. And it's like, well, that for one, that's not available to anyone else. But two, there's no reason it has to cost that much.
Right.
Like, why can't we put that level of thought and design and complexity into stuff that's like affordable for people like me and you?
Right.
And that's my design philosophy with Taft, with footwear,
Yeah.
and someday, who knows, man? Like maybe we go be right now. It's like during the current like COVID-19 pandemic, it's hard for me to even think about like
Yeah.
how will Taft operate in a normal world again? Like right now it's just so hectic and like in survival mode, trying to be just nimble and lean and just surviving now, and we can thrive down the road.
Right.
But I think that the Taft design philosophy can be applied to lots of other areas, and maybe someday I'll be let loose on some other types of products.
We just got a comment from Alex. He wants you to make a combat boot.
Okay, yeah, so I'm like a big fan of Doc Martens. I don't have a pair, but I like the look of them.
Yeah,
And I've kind of messed around with combat stuff. We've never made it, but like I like the idea too.
there you go.
And there's actually a sample. There's actually a sample out for Alex. I have a sample in my office that is actually a pretty dope combat boot. I don't have it. I'm at home,
Yeah,
but
Alex, are you
yeah,
size
it's
nine?
something on my yeah, for size 9. Let me know. It's on my list though. Like I agree. I think that there's certain types of shoes that are just kind of neglected. Like think of the button boot, that Branson boot that you're talking about
Right.
with the houndstooth up top, like
Yeah.
that beautiful burnished leather on the bottom. Like that's a style that's just kind of neglected and lost. And I'm trying to revive some of those things. And I think that the combat boot in a fashion brand is somewhat lost as well. So
No, I
it's on my
mean,
list, Alex.
dude, that's awesome. Um, let's see. Do you ship to Canada? Someone I saw that ask earlier.
Yeah, we do. We do. I don't know. I can't testify to the speed though right now. Like I don't
Yeah.
know
I mean,
US to Canadian shipping. I don't know what they're doing at the borders right now. So
even
I don't know.
Amazon
But yes,
Prime
we do.
is like 3 weeks. So like you're
Right.
good.
I know.
No
Yeah,
one's
we
expecting
do.
overnight shipping. I hope at
Yeah.
least. Let's see. If anybody's got any questions, ask them now. We got about 10 minutes left here, so drop your questions in. Give this video a thumbs up. Once again, Kory, thanks for like coming on and chatting with us tonight. I mean, it's just good to see old friends and talk to people that you haven't been
Right.
quarantined with. Have you been just quarantined with your wife and kids
I
for?
know, dude. Yeah.
Is Utah like
Yeah. My
open,
wife
or
and my 3 kiddos.
are you sheltering in place? Is that what? Because LA is like locked
Uh,
down.
I don't think it's quite as strict as like what I'm seeing in New York City.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, my wife and I, we have been home now for almost 8 weeks. Um,
yeah. We started
just
early
yeah,
March.
we're sheltering in place. Yeah, we were like March 16th was when it really got serious, but we had been sheltering at home for a week prior to that.
Oh wow.
Um, so yeah, my wife and I have been really serious about it. But it's not like totally dead.
Yeah.
But like all restaurants are closed, all hair salons are, everything's closed. But like there's still people out. There's still, I'm exercising every day and people are
You
driving
cutting your hair at
around.
home? It's looking good still.
No, dude, I gotta be honest, dude. I did my hair just for this.
Dude,
Because I was like, man, I saw your video last night and I was like, dang, dude, those guys look pretty good. Like I'm in just a gray t-shirt, like I'm just in like jeans, got
yeah.
nothing to do
At
that.
least
So
you
I
put pants on, man. Like
I got
that's
pants on, but to be honest, I was like, I fell asleep getting my kids to sleep, and then I woke up and it was like I looked tired, and I was like, I got to do my hair because I know George is gonna look good, so I got to at least do my hair.
no, dude. It's all good. We got a question from Jake. Do you handle everything, or what's the Taft team looking like these days?
Good question, Jake. So we're headquartered in Utah, and so we have 12 people here, and then we have 5 people in New York City who run the store in New York City in Soho. So we have the team in New York City whose store's been shut down, over 2 months now. They're
Wow.
total lockdown. But they're just on the payroll like normal. We didn't have to lay anyone off. We didn't have to furlough or cut pay. So they're just Netflix and chilling for 2 months, making their normal pay. And then here in Utah, we have about a dozen people, and we're all just working remotely right now. The headquarters up in Salt Lake is just shut down. But no, I don't do everything. So I am the founder and the CEO and the shoe designer. But we have like an amazing team. Today we had our weekly check-in call, and I just love them all so much, man. Like I'm just so fortunate to have such a great small team that operates like a family, like more like a basketball team, like a really in sync coordinated basketball team, like 10, 12 of us. Like we all have our role, we all play our part versus like some huge company. Like
Right.
it's just so great,
Where
man.
you
We're
have
really lucky.
managers for everyone that's managing somebody else. That's
Yeah, we don't have any of that crap. Like the CEO and founder is right there with everyone else, and we're just like arm in arm going to battle every day. Like there's none of that corporate crap. Like we're just friends that are working our butts off, you know?
That's awesome. Freddie asks, do you plan to open more stores? If
Yes.
so, where?
Um,
Possibly.
so yes, we are. So New York City, I could see another store in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
Los Angeles, just because that's where I'm from. That's where I
Hey.
know. Yeah, we could see each other again. San Francisco,
Yeah.
Boston, Chicago, Atlanta. Those would be our first handful of stores. I think a second New York City store, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, Atlanta would be it probably.
Nice. Now,
The
now I'm
first ones, the first
now
ones.
I'm going back to like my hype beast streetwear days. Are there ever going to be like exclusive New York store releases?
Dude, I actually did that in New York City, and the stuff was so dope.
Yeah.
But like, I just did a poor job of like releasing it. Basically, like we had it available in the store, but like half the shipment was here in Utah, half was in New York City. Like I just did a poor job of it. But yeah, like I think that's the stuff I get excited about, like those little micro releases of like super dope stuff
Yeah.
that's like there and then it's gone in an hour. Like I would love for Taft to be able to do more of that kind of stuff, like operate more like a streetwear brand.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe a Jen's Lounge collaboration
yeah,
shoe boot.
exactly. Right. Like that kind of stuff like gets me excited. That's the stuff that big companies like can't do,
Right.
like and that's the kind of stuff that I think makes Taft special. So
Dude,
I would
that's
love to do more of that stuff. It's just right now
right,
it's
of
crazy times,
course.
man. But
No. That's awesome. All right, so one last question. This is kind of a fun one. Is there a boot or a shoe from someone else that you wish you would have designed?
that's a good question. I like that question because I feel like with a lot of companies, there's like this like competition
Yeah.
and like rivalry where it's like I don't even want to
You
acknowledge
can't
that they
acknowledge that it's
exist.
good.
Right. And like right, and I'm not like that at all. Um, like I know that there's other shoe brands, and I know there's other shoe brands that do certain things better than us, and I know that we do things better than other companies.
Yeah.
Taft is very different, and so I don't feel like super threatened by other shoe companies because no one makes shoes like we do.
Right.
Um, but I would say, I got to give a shout out to the Iron Ranger from Red Wing.
Yeah.
Like that boot is just, the Iron Ranger and also their mock toe.
Okay.
Like, I like Red Wing. I think that they're a really great company. I like, the domestic piece of it. I think that their boots look awesome. So I would say the Iron Ranger because they look awesome. They just like if anyone puts on a pair of Iron Rangers, like they just immediately look tough. Like they could just beat you up, but not in a bad way, like in a good way. Like they just look cool. Like my cousin in LA, he always wears a black pair of Iron Rangers all the time, and he always just looks like effortlessly cool.
Did I get the
Um,
the right ones on there?
let's see. Are you gonna pull up a picture or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's the Iron Ranger. Pull up a mocktail
Okay.
from them,
Yeah.
like the Red Wing mocktail. Um,
I'm still playing around
like the
with what this
heavy.
app can do, so I'm
No, it's
having some
super
fun.
cool. It's super cool. Like the heavy chain stitching on the
Oh,
Red
hell
Wing,
yeah. I
the
know
Iron
exactly
Ranger
what you're
is
talking
cool.
about. That's like the barber boot. Like if you're a barber, you wear that boot.
Exactly. Like if you're like tatted up and have dope facial hair, you probably have a pair of Red Wings on.
Yes.
Um, and so I would say Red Wing, and also for like personal financial reasons, it's like they sell a million Iron Rangers a year,
Right.
and it would be nice to have a boot that's, I hope that one of our boots someday becomes a universal, a universally worldwide recognized style.
Like
That's the goal. And
that's the boot you get if you want that style boot.
right, like exactly, like,
But I
and
mean,
someday
I feel like the jack boot could be
we'll
that
get there.
boot.
Like, dude, I think we'll get there. I mean, what we've done in just a few years
Right.
is really amazing. And so, when we're going up against companies companies that have decades and decades, and in some cases over 100 years of head start on us. I think what we've done in just a few years is really amazing, and I think that we can get there. We can get there soon. We're just chasing them from behind, but with, again, great, crazy, cool product, great customer service, and acting like those brands can't. Like, there's just certain things that Red Wing or Allen Edmonds or Cole Haan, like, that they can't do that we
Right.
can. And so just like really honing in on those things and focusing on those things that make us different, I think that we'll start gaining more and more traction on the big guys.
Dude, that's awesome. So, once again, we're gonna wrap this up now, but thank you so
Hold up,
much.
dude. I gotta say, you gotta give me 1 second. I
Okay,
just
yeah,
want to.
yeah.
So I'm quarantining. I haven't seen you in a lot of years. I've followed you for half a decade now. I just want to say thank you for, you and Blake have always been big supporters and made me feel really special. And I remember the first time we met, I was really nervous, actually. I was really nervous to meet you, and
No.
because it was, no, I'm not trying to blow smoke, dude. I'm being serious. I was just really nervous, and you just from the get go, you always made me feel like, important and like acknowledged, even when it was like a silly little sock company with 10,000 followers on Instagram. Like, you made me feel really special. And, first and foremost, I'm a big fan of what you do and what you guys stand for and how you do it. Like, you guys are the pioneers, in my opinion, of men's fashion influencing. And so I just want to say thanks for having me on, and thanks for, for 5 years of feeling like I have you guys in my corner when, you earlier in the interview, you asked like the early days, like, how did you get your start, and how did you push through in those times, or what was the hardest thing? And honestly, like, you and Blake helped me through, like when I felt like this was a dumb idea, or how am I going to provide for my family, or, and then like you guys were just so kind to me from the very beginning when you had no reason to be, other than that you're just great people. So I just want to say thank you for doing what you do and treating me how you have for all these years, because you guys are just, I'm really grateful to know you, and I look up to you guys a lot, and I really appreciate all you've done for me and for my business too.
Dude, thank you so much. I mean, honestly, when Blake and I started this thing, our whole goal was to just do good stuff with good people, and you are good people. So, we got your back for
Thanks, man.
whatever you have in the future. We will
Thanks,
be
man.
there with you if you'll have us along for the ride.
You'll be there, man.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you for hanging out with me. Guys, thank you for tuning in. I'll have a link to Taft and everything in the description below. If you guys haven't checked out the Taft website yet, do it now. Yes, pick something up because they
Okay.
make the best boots and shoes of all time. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Thanks. Peace.